Welcome to the Firearm Patriot channel. Today I'm taking a look at a 9mm striker fired pistol that's about the exact same size of the Glock 19. That's made by a company called FMK right here in America, in California, if you can believe that. Then we're going to take a few more shots with this thing, then go over to the table and take a little closer look at it. Alright, let's take a little closer look at this FMK 9C1G2. I normally don't bring the boxes that these guns come out in, but this case was so well made I want to show it to you. I really didn't expect to get this type of box with a gun in the price range of $310 to $360 at your local store. So it's probably one of the best boxes I have ever seen, regardless of the price of the firearm. And I think you could actually use this to transport it through the airport and get it through TSA. It's got a place for 2 locks up here. It's got the foam cutouts for the pistol and the extra magazine. Got a place here for extra ammo and an ammo loader if you need to. So let's go ahead and take that out. Put this box to the side and take a look at this pistol. Now, of course, it is a unloaded firearm. It's a polymer striker fired 9mm, and it goes directly, as far as size wise, with a Glock 19. And you know, I think they did that. It was a smart move for them. They know that the Glock 19 is a very popular gun. It's a very popular carry size, and it's also large enough to manipulate all the controls and run the gun easily, as opposed to some shorter, smaller firearms that can be very difficult. So I think they made a wise choice in the size of the firearm. Now, this gun comes in multiple colors. You're like looking at 10 colors it comes in. It also can have the actual Bill of Rights put on the slide. It does have some patriotic things on the gun itself. Proudly American. Thank you, Armed Forces. I appreciate that. I'm a veteran. On the back of it here, in the plate, it has freedom, liberty. And of course, we got a loaded chamber indicator, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, which I think that's one of the best ideas that I've seen in a while. But let's go ahead and talk about what you get with the gun. You do get 2 steel magazines. They have polymer followers, and you have a polymer base plate. The base plates are cut out down here at the bottom, so if you need to rip them out of the gun, you can do that. They have witness hose, 5, 10, 14 rounds. I believe these magazines are made in-house, so everything's been made there in California, which is, again, amazing to me. The gun comes with an excellent owner's manual in the back of it. It gives you a little history lesson on American history. Glad to see the company do that. As far as the magazines go, we had one problem with one of the magazines not locking back all the time. I knew it was the magazine because the other magazine did not do it. It always locked back with that particular magazine, but not always on that. So that'd be something we'd probably send back in and say, hey, can you send us a new magazine? I'm sure that wouldn't be a problem. But again, you know, you don't get steel magazines with the Glock, for example, but you do here. As far as the grip goes, one of the best ergonomic grips I've seen in a while on the size of gun that it is. Now, this is a double stacked firearm, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels like a single stacked gun when you grab it. Now, it's very much like an M&P, and I mean that to be the utmost compliment. And so I'm very impressed with that. They have some finger grooves that are very wide and don't protrude too much. and they have some serrations up here. You have an indentation on the sides with texturing, and your hand just kind of falls right in there, feels really good. And then you have a rubber piece that goes on the back here. Now this is a back strap. You don't have additional sizes. This is one size fits all, but it fit my hand very well. I have a medium hand, may not fit yours, you have to pick it up and try it, but certainly did mine. I felt it really aided in the controllability of the firearm and made recoil a little bit less because you could get such a good grip on the gun. Control-wise, it has some nice control features on it. Now, before we get into the controls, I just want to let you know that there's no magazine disconnect on the firearm, so it will fire with a round in the chamber. And we had no problems with the magazine coming out with positive ejection every time. The only issue I had with it is that the magazine button does protrude out pretty far. I never had any issues carrying it either inside the waistband or outside the waistband with the magazine dropping, though. I want you to know that. The only issue I had is that when you push it, it does come out on the side here pretty far. And the way I hold my hand, you may not hold your hand that way, but it would come and sometimes block the magazine disconnect. So if it were my pistol, I would probably file that down a little bit where that didn't happen, and my recommendation to the company would be to, again, smooth that out, take that down a few millimeters, and it's a non-issue. Now, you also have here on the grip some indentions for your finger and also for your thumb to fit in very nicely. And you can reach all the controls without changing your grip. You have a very long slide stop lever release here, and it's serrated on top, so it's not going to slip off, but it has to be one of the easiest guns that I have found or seen to basically release the slide with the lever. And some people will do that as a practice on how they load their gun when they put a magazine in there, and it's just very easy to do and no problems with that at all. I appreciate that, being able to operate all the controls, one hand, not changing my grip. Now, the magazine button's not going to be reversible, nor is there a slide stop on the right side either. Now, the slide is a carbon fiber slide, very solid, strong. It's coated with a black oxygen, and I've had no problems with wear or anything on it. Of course, I've had it for about a month. There's been no real wear issues on it. It is contoured a little bit down, probably to save a little bit of weight. For me, it's good that you can also get a grip on it that way, and you can also use the slide serrations, which are straight up and down, which is how I like mine. They could be a little bit deeper for my personal preference, but it's easy to work the slide just because there's not a lot of poundage on that, which I also like that. It makes it easy to clear a jam and that sort of thing. Sight picture, you have pretty much the same sight picture as you do on a Glock. They're a little narrower. The Glocks are a little bit wider back here on their U-notch. They are polymer front and back. Now, this gun does come with some additional sights, which Glock doesn't. That's one's a little bit lower, and then this is for the back if you want to set up a 3-dot system, which I thought was pretty nice. If you want to just knock them out, take them out. If you want the 3 dots over the U-notch and the dot in the front, you've got it. You do have the Picatinny rail up front. It does have one slot on it, and you have a fairly large trigger guard that's also undercut to help get a better grip. Now, you can get a glove in there without any issue. Now, all right, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the FMK's trigger. When I first got it, it was a bit gritty. However, I oiled the trigger inside, and that really took care of that problem. It's very smooth now. The blade in the front of the trigger does go flat, and it's very wide, so it doesn't bother you when you shoot the gun. I know noticing shooting the Glock today, I had the blade didn't go all the way in, and that really bothered me after about 50 rounds. So I have to take a look at that. But you do also have a fairly short reset. We'll go ahead and show you that. Let me go ahead and drop this magazine so it'll be easier. All right, and there's your reset. Right there. So the reset's not much different. down the Glock. Glock's a tad shorter, and the Glock's got a little bit better trigger on it, smoother, and I like the Glock's trigger in the sense that it's the same pressure, seems to be all the way through on these new Glocks, so I do like that. So let's go ahead and take a little reading here of kind of what the trigger poundage is. This 514. 514 is really what I've been getting doing it for the last month, so it's really right around 514. I think that's about right, and it really depends on how you pull the trigger. We try to get it right there in the middle because that's where you're going to be pulling it at, and pull it back, but it can be difficult to do. All right, so certainly an acceptable trigger. As you see me out there shooting, I didn't have any problems hitting my target until I moved out. That's probably more the shooter than anything. But overall, I think this is a very good product. I put 410 rounds through it, had some issues with the first 100 rounds. I think the gun has a break-in period. With the first 100 rounds, I had 3 failures to eject or extract the casing, and 1 failure to feed the round into the chamber. After that, there were no issues with the gun. So I think it's certainly, if you're in the 310, the 360 range, it is a gun worth considering. Take a feel of it, pull the trigger on it. It's certainly the right size. I just remember the old Smith & Wesson Sigmas that had a 12-pound trigger on them. And that was what you would get in this price range back 15 years ago. So we've really come a long ways. So check them out when you get a chance. This is the Firearm Patriot. Till next time, God bless America.